Hello, this is Gary at Jack Raven Bushcraft. Thank you for watching our video. This week I'm going to talk about wild cherry. We're fortunate to have quite a large number of wild cherry in our woodland, and that's a good thing. So it has a number of uses for us in bushcraft. First off, however, just in terms of identifying cherry, it is really easy to identify from its bark alone. We have these very distinctive horizontal marks going all the way along the trunk, or all the way up the trunk, I should say. So there isn't really anything else that looks like this, with the exception of sometimes young birch. So birch we often associate as being silver, but in fact when they're young they can often be brownish, pinkish, purplish, those kinds of colours. And so it is potentially possible to confuse a young cherry with a young birch. But generally speaking, you're not going to mix this up with anything else because of these very distinct horizontal bands that we've got going on. So things that we can do with cherry, well, there are the fruits for one thing. So the fruits tend to come out quite early in the year as far as fruiting trees go. So sort of June-ish time, around here anyway, they'll start to fruit. They're not quite as big as cultivated cherries and not quite as sweet either. Nonetheless, they are nice. I like them. The issue, however, is well, for one thing, they're right up there. So the cherry that we have here, they are tall. So this one I'm going to go with, I reckon that's a good 12, possibly 15 meters. So it's a tall tree. The berries are at the top, the fruit is at the top of it. More often than not, the birds will come in and have the berries away before they've ripened. Some do fall to the floor though, and as I say, they are tasty. Nicola and I, a couple of years ago, well, 18 months ago or so, I guess, we made some fruit leather with cherries, and it was really good. Probably one of the best fruit leathers that I've tasted, so something I would very heartily recommend. Cherry is also quite a nice wood for carving. Inside we get a distinct colour difference between the heartwood and the sapwood. So the heartwood on cherry is a kind of purplish colour, and the sapwood on it is a creamy white colour. So those of you of an age to remember fruit salad sweets, that's a bit like what cherry looks like inside. So if you're carving a spoon, a bowl, a spatula, that kind of thing, if you split it carefully, you can end up with an object that has two colours. I'm stood next to a bunch of cherry saplings at the moment. So these weren't here kind of 2-3 years ago. There's a good reason for their fast growth here. If you look behind me, we have a load of trees that are kind of leaning over. Those are ash. They unfortunately have succumbed to ash dieback, but what that's done is created a gap in the canopy. It's allowed the sunlight to come down through, and so all of these saplings have just kind of sprouted up in a race for that light. They are very densely packed in here, so I am in the next couple of weeks, in fact, going to dig some of these up and transplant them to other parts of the wood where they're going to have a better chance of surviving. Another use for cherry that I've read about regularly, in fact, is the outer bark as a tinder. And so the idea is a little bit like birch bark. You see curls coming off and you can pull them and collect the bark up and use it for your fire lighting. In my experience, I have yet to find a wild cherry out and about on my wanders where I found the bark to be peeling. Where I have come across cherry with peeling bark, it has been on ornamental cherry trees. As I say, I've never found that yet on one actually out in the woodlands. But this is a cherry I'm next to now. It's fallen over. It's fallen over a very long time ago. I've been here in this spot for 10 years, and it's been down the whole time I've been here. Actually, there's a limb just off in front of me now that is still alive. This bit, no, this has had it. This is dead. But the bark is remarkably resilient, really, really tough, and so it is still there on this dead limb. In actual fact, I have found in the past, in fact, a couple of times on this tree, branches that have decayed. So the wood is decayed and left behind the bark. I mean, a little bit like this. You can see the wood in behind here it's gone, but the bark is still in place. And so we can just kind of put it off like that. So wherever I've collected cherry bark, it's been more in this kind of condition situation as opposed to the stuff that you can just peel off. So it does burn particularly well, but I've found it quite difficult to ignite. So typically with cherry bark, what I would be looking for is something else that's going to take the initial flame or create the initial flame, something like birch bark, and then mix this in with it, because it does give a hot, long-lasting flame. So it is worth looking out for and collecting as a tinder, but just remember that you are going to have to mix it in with something else to get it to go, at least in my experience. I hope you found that useful, that it's something that you can take with you onto your own bushcraft adventures. I will endeavour to get some more content out next week. Make sure you don't miss out on that by subscribing to either our YouTube channel or our blog, both of which are Jack Raven Bushcraft. In the meantime, take care, stay safe.